I wanted to zoom back a little bit further to when you first introduced this practice. And so, what was the problem that you were seeing within your team in that experience? And then, how'd you first come up with this idea to do more of a team goal setting practice?
That's really interesting, and I appreciate that. So one of the things I do is you may have heard of Can I, that constant and never-ending improvement. I kind of live in that space.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I came across Can I believe it was Anthony Robbins had that, and Tony Robbins, he had that in one of his books. I think it was the Giants book. You can grab the title, but he talked about I think it was basically Toyota, and they had this thing that was called Can I. At least that's how he interpreted it, which is CANA, an acronym for constant and never ending improvement. So that's pretty much my life. Some people call it continuous improvement. One of the things I like to do is not so much focus on the problem, but in that constant and never ending improvement, I ask myself, is this really the best I can do? Whatever I'm doing, is this really the best I can do? And so I was thinking about my team members, and I was thinking about, every year we set out these goals, we have these practices. Every year we have like, say, maybe 20 things on it. And quarter by quarter, we start cutting it down, five, then 10, right? And then by the end of the year, we might have like two or three. And out of those two or three things, maybe one was actually completed. And it's not one that was meaningful. It was just the easiest one to actually accomplish. Right. And so this had gone on for a while. And I was like, how can I better serve my team with this? Because I was like, I am their sole accountability partner. They each are coming to me. We're going through this every quarter when we do our check ins and so forth. And I was like, this is really not working. Because one, there are too many things on their list, and I will say, game recognized game, because there are too many things on my list, right? And was doing the same thing. Um, and then the time period was way too big, right? Because people were filling it up because they're like, oh, I have 365 days. I can do all these things in a year. So, with those things in mind, like I said, I was sitting back just kind of thinking about, like, how can I do better for my team? And that's when I was like, you know what? We need to open this up so we're all accountable, right? And that's really kind of moving from mainframe to more of an internet, way of being with the team, right? I don't want to be the single point of failure anymore, right? So let's get everybody involved in this. And then let's shorten the time. So instead of doing it for the year, like our organization does it for the year, let's do it for this release. Like that way, people are a little less hesitant because they don't feel like, oh, I have to commit to this for the entire year. I just need to commit to this for this release.
Can you talk more about the release? The definition of release here is the software release, the product release, or and what's the cycle?
The cycle's like for us, it's 3 times a year. So roughly you're talking about like 3 to 4 months, So it's really a little bit over a quarter of a year. And that's each one of our releases. So it's like, okay, I'm going to dedicate myself to doing this for this time period. And that was really freeing for my folks. When they thought they had to do this for the entire year, it felt really big and challenging. But if this is only for a release, oh, I can do that. So that was one of the things that made it really easy for them to jump in. And then we kind of basically set out what we were going to do in that time period, right? So the first thing is your next level goal. I call it next level. And by next level, I'm like, what can you do to improve yourself, be better, be more advanced, you know, at the end of this release? And do it so well that you don't even have to tell people what your goal is. They will just know. They will just know because you've already embodied it.
Oh, wow. I like that the definition of the end.
Exactly. So we start out there, and then, of course, we time box it to the release. So that's one thing. And then, of course, we're at work, and I'm always thinking about their career. So then you think about, what do you want to become the subject matter expert in? and what do you want to become, like your business impact. So, kind of the process for this, just to kind of maybe I'll back it up a little bit, is I invited my whole team. I have two teams. I invited them all to a meeting. They had already seen like a couple weeks. I put out like weekly messages about the next level, and I have this table. It's like a little spreadsheet table, and in the table it has columns, and the columns are next level, 238 or whatever number the release is going to be that time. Then it says like your subject matter expert, right? Because they're still engineers, got to like, where are you going to be the subject matter expert for this particular release? Then we're going to talk about your business impact, right? Like, how does that fall into play? And then there's another column, simple. It's just one column where you put your goals for each month. And usually it winds up being about, like I said, 3 to 4 months.
I am digesting the structure there because the problems you identified of breaking down a long period of time, recognizing the power of accountability, like you'd mentioned, that was like going from mainframe to the internet. I'm like, yeah, that's like a quantum computing leap in terms of whether or not somebody's going to actually move closer to accomplishing their goals. And I'm also reflecting on my own journey trying to set goals, and definitely trying to set, at the beginning of the year, trying to set an annual goal. And by about this time, which we're recording in March, I've lost the momentum of that. And I also don't have like that accountability source. And so for me, I'm thinking, man, I would really love to have that type of structure in my life for somebody to break down a goal and to like put something in at a 3 or 4 month period, because I do know, I feel like there would be so much more momentum created.